How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Alternative Finance here. And this video is for educational purposes only. This video is not to put down anyone's company. It's not to necessarily lift up anyone's company at the same time. So this video is for educational purposes only, and it's just about producing the facts as it relates to compensation. And so a lot of claims, a lot of times, if you've heard of a couple of, or at least one in particular company called GFI, which stands for Global Financial Impact. They're an IMO in the life insurance and financial services space. And some claims that are made by their representatives online is that they have the best builder's contract in the IMO space. And so this video is just to get the facts out there as it relates to their company versus maybe another company versus Vantage Financial Alliance as well. And so let's just start off here. Now, this is GFI's compensation plan right here at each level. And so we'll kind of go through it. So we'll start off with the associate, and the associate. That's really like a training associate. So it says associate, but that's a training associate there. And so when someone first comes in at GFI as a training associate, they will start off at a 30% contract. Now with GFI, we'll say that, your contract, your compensation percentage, that is based on all companies and all products at 100% advance. So that is a positive thing, in my opinion, that with GFI, no matter which product or company you help a client out with, whatever your contract is, that is what your contract is, whether it be 30, 45, or 50, or 60, or 70, or 80. But let's get back to the nuts and bolts of this here. So as a training associate, your contract is 30%. And then once you are promoted to a field associate or a regular associate, your contract is 45%. So you all can see it kind of, as you get promoted, your pay will increase, of course. So senior associate, 50%, marketing director, 60%. And then when you get to executive marketing director, that's 80%. Now, I believe since this grid right here was created, I believe that they now have another position, which is senior marketing director, which is in between marketing director and executive marketing director at 70%. But really the executive marketing director position, that is the position where you really get into the executive levels at GFI. And GFI, they do have other titles past executive marketing director as well. But your personal contract is 80%, and then up to a 5% bonus. So that's 85%. So when at GFI, when you are an executive marketing director or above, because they do have some people that are above that title, your contract is still at that 85%. And then also, it also opens you up to, so it starts off at the first generation. And just to explain this is, okay, so with GFI, when they promote, so when an EMD or an executive marketing director promotes another executive marketing director, they still get overrides on that marketing director. So a first generation marketing director, they would get a 15% override plus a bonus. So that's up to 18%. So it's 18% override. Second generation, you would get a 9% override. And then third generation, that is a 4% override with a 2% bonus. So that's 6%. And then from generations 4 through 7, it's a 1% override with a 2% bonus. So you add that up, generations 4 through 7, they are getting a 3% override here. Now, let's go and let's see what Vantage Financial Alliance, let's see what their compensation structure looks like. Okay, so now let's take a look at the Vantage Financial Alliance compensation structure, and here it is right here. So unlike GFI, where if you remember, I said that no matter which product or company you help a client with GFI, you're going to get paid the same thing across the board. Well, Vantage doesn't quite work that way. So as you can see, Vantage has different tiers, different products and different companies fall in different tiers. You have your platinum tier, the elite, the preferred life, and then preferred annuity, and then you have the select tier as well. So let's start off now with Vantage. Vantage has three core levels, and then the difference is when you make it to MD and higher in Vantage is an executive level, where versus in GFI, I believe it's SMD and SMD now, but then EMD for sure is the executive level. But let's talk about the personal part of it. Let's start right at the beginning with Vantage once again. So with Vantage, the lowest that you would make would be 35% as a training associate. So 35%, if you help a customer with a select carrier of Vantage, like with a select carrier or select product, your contract level is 35%. The highest that you can make as a training associate would be 50%. So if you happen to help a customer with a platinum, carrier of Vantage Financial Alliance, then your compensation would be 50%. And then Vantage has tiers between that: elite, preferred, and preferred annuity. So at training associate, 45%, 40%, and 30% if you were to help a customer with those particular products as well. Now, if you move up to associate, the lowest that you could make is 44%. Now, if you remember back at GFI, when I showed their table, their associate levels is at 45%. So the lowest that you would make with Vantage as an associate is 1 percentage point less at 44%. Preferred annuity. So if you help someone with an annuity at either company or basically in the preferred annuity category, 45%. And then when you get to the preferred life, elite, and then platinum, 50%, 55, and 65%. And then when we get to senior associate, if you remember GFI, senior associate's 50%. Well, at Vantage, the lowest you would make if you help someone with a select carrier or a select product and or carrier, the lowest you'd make would be 54% as a senior associate at Vantage. If you remember GFI, it was 50%. So you're 4 percentage points higher, whether it be a preferred life or a preferred annuity carrier, 55%, elite carrier, that would be 60%, and then 70% at Vantage here as well. So now when we move down, when we get into the executive levels and higher with Vantage, the more you get promoted, the more your personal compensation goes up. Doesn't matter which grid you're on. So a marketing director is at 80%. Now with the elite pay, you're at 65%, preferred 64%, and you guys can see it. The lowest you would make is 59%. So as a marketing director with GFI, 60% would be your compensation there. So the lowest percentage would be 1 percentage point less, but on average, you're still higher. And then you've got senior marketing director, which is 85% at the highest. And then you're down to 68% at preferred, 65% at preferred annuity, and then at 62%, I believe that says, at the select position as well. So I want to stop there. I don't want to go too far, but as you can see on the personal side of it with Vantage, you are higher here. Now let's look at the overrides on just the regular overrides here with Vantage. Okay, so here's the override schedule for Vantage. So the infinity overrides plus your generational overrides. So as you see, these are overrides on direct MDs and or higher as well. And so obviously at MD with Vantage, the first generation. So if you promote, if you're an MD and you promote another MD, your first generation, you're gonna override that MD's base shot by 12%, and then second generation 7%, third generation 3%, fourth and fifth generations 2%, and then your sixth and seventh generations 1%. But what separates Vantage compensation plan from GFI, the higher you advance up, your overrides also increase as well. So with that being said, when you move past MD into SMD, now your first generation override is at 17%, second generation 12%, third generation 8%, fourth and fifth at 7%, and then your sixth and seventh, and then you even can participate in the eighth generation is much higher than 1% as well. And as you see, as the more and more you keep moving up, the higher your overrides become on your direct MDs and or higher as well. So while GFI's compensation plan on the builder side, if Vantage just stopped at MD and you could never get higher overrides than this right here, then yes, GFI would be correct that they would have the best builder's compensation. But however, you see right here, as like I said, as you progress with Vantage, as you move past MD, which would be like, equivalent to like moving past EMD at GFI. But as you move past MD, not only does your personal compensation to continue to increase all the way up to executive field vice chairman, so do your overrides, plus you get an extra generation. Whereas GFI, you stop at the seventh generation there as well with that. Now let's look at an example of both companies. Then, like I said, these are just hypothetical examples, but let's look at an example with both companies. If you had your personal production, your base shop, as well as, let's just say you had one leg of an MD and you went 7 generations deep. Let's look at what the personal production on a month-to-month standpoint, as far as a yearly standpoint, would look at both companies. Okay, so now we're looking back again at GFI and their generational income table. And this table is based on 50,000 points when it comes to every generation within their overrides. And so if you need a refresher, just rewind back. And that, if you need a refresher on the percentages in each generation here as well, you can rewind back and see that. But I'm just going to go through it here. So based on their generational income table, if you were an MD, and let's just focus on, I don't want to go through the whole thing and take up too much time. I just want to focus on the category that says one EMD leg. So if you were an EMD with an 85% personal production on 25,000 points, you would make $21,250, and these figures are on a monthly basis, by the way. And then, of course, with your office or your base shop, 25. Let's say your base shop also did 25,000 points. That would net you $10,000. Now, that is an average of a 40% override on your base shop. Now, that's key because when I show you the other side of it on the base shop, there's no way that I could even do an average of 40%, because from MD or even SMD at Vantage, from the highest, from an MD to an SMD Advantage, those contract levels are not even 40 percentage points even higher than the lowest contract, which would be a training associate. So that would be about 35% on 35% on average. But I digress. Let's get back to the point. And then if you had one EMD leg and that EMD leg stretched 7 generations deep, all doing 50,000 points, as you see, your monthly income would get to about $53,750. And then, of course, you see at the bottom of that, you see the yearly income, which is in the $600,000 range. Pretty good. I mean, if somebody's knocking these things out, they're making good compensation here. So let's move over and let's see what Vantage under the same scenario. Let's see what somebody with Vantage would make under the same points, same scenario, same team and everything as well. Same size team. Okay, so in this video right here, I want to point out, I want to point out some things here. And so what we're going to do is to make the numbers match up. So we're going to take the assumptions. So we're just going to use just IUL. So don't worry about the term and the annuity because we're not even doing those as of right now. So okay, so for the IUL, we're going to assume that 6,250, and then for 25,000 points on the personal side of it, we're going to say 4. So if you take 6,250 times 4, that equals 25,000. So that would be about 25,000 points if it's equivalent to GFI. And so from that perspective, if we look at this on a monthly basis, we get the same number, personal income. So I changed it. So we got personal income, 21,250, right? So that is the exact same thing that you saw at GFI. There was 21,250. Now, if we take the base shop, which would be your core team, so we take 4 IUL cells again at an average of 6,250, and that would be another 25,000 points, and that would be $8,000 on your core team. So that's less than GFI, because remember, GFI was an average of a 40% override. This calculation right here is an average of a 35% override. So that's why you see less money there on your base shop. Okay, now if I scroll down here just a little bit, this is one leg of MDs. You see it right here, marketing director, 7 generations deep, one leg. And if you assume that all of them were doing 8 IUL cells per, because remember in the GFI example, when you got to the MDs, that was 50,000 points. So if you assume that each one of these generations were doing 50,000, and you'll see that right here where I put IUL cells per MD is 8. And like I said, there's no term or annuity cells because we're trying to get the points to match up. So 6,250 times 8 is 50,000. And then your generational overrides would be 31,500 for a monthly income of 61,500 for the month. That is what your total would be for the month. Now, if you remember at GFI, your total income for the month under the same assumptions was about 53,000. Now, why is this important? Because now the level that I did choose was senior marketing director, not MD. But remember, now if I change it, if I just change it to MD, if I change it to MD right here, if I just change it to marketing director, yes, it is lower. It is lower. So if you have a marketing director with one leg of a marketing director and 8 generations deep, it is lower. But remember, the higher you progress, the higher your overrides and the higher your personal income and the higher your overrides also progress as well. So whereas at GFI, your title may change, but your income when it comes to the overrides based on this scenario does not change. So if you are a senior marketing director, that is 61,500. Now let's change it. Let's change this to yearly. How much would that be yearly? That would be $738,000. That's almost $100,000 more than the GFI example that you saw. So like I said, under the same, it doesn't matter with GFI if you get the EMD or if you promote to executive field vice chairman or field chairman or any of that. You go under the same assumptions, your numbers are going to be the same. Now, if I change this again, let's change this to regional marketing director. Now you're up to $978,000. With, once again, your overrides on these generations, your overrides increase, and you'll see that I haven't changed anything. Everything else is still the same. Everything else is still the same. Still one leg of MDs, 7 generations deep. I could add an 8th, but I'm not, because I want to keep it fair. And everything is still the same. So once again, when people say that basically they have, higher builders compensation, based on the facts, it's just simply not true. So, but at the end of the day, like I said, once again, this is for educational purposes. This was not to disparage anybody's company or anything like that, or not to say that one company is better than the next. Those people over there at GFI, they're doing pretty good. People over at Vantage, they're doing pretty good. So at the end of the day, people, if you're looking, find the company that is going to be the best for you as well. But just when it comes to the facts and the income, I think Vantage here has the advantage. Thanks.